All right, I'm going to go question by question. I may not give you like exact questions, all right, but I will not give you exact ones. I shouldn't say I may not. I will not give you exact questions, but I'll let you know basically what they look like, okay? And then you can look them up. You can look at your old homeworks, all right? That's why it's good not to throw your homeworks away when I give them back to you. But anyway, there we go. So the first one, actually 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 look like the same picture. I'll show you the picture that I'm going to give you. This is the exact picture, pretty much. So that goes like this. Let me rotate it or flip it just so it's fairly accurate. Come on, there it is. All right. Remember this? What do we got out here? Yeah, we got a triangle, but what do we got right here? What's that?
It's an angle.
Yeah, not just any angle. It's an exterior angle. That's right. Okay. Now, we learned something about an exterior angle. And
remote.
That's correct. Okay. So we'll give this 2 arcs and we'll give this 3 arcs. Does that mean that these 2 angles I'm showing you right here are equal to each other? Does not. Okay. Does not mean that. But we'll call this angle 1. We'll call this angle 2. We'll call this one angle 3. So all I'm going to show you on the review, okay, is what the relationship is between the exterior angle and what do we call these? Remote interior angles. Very good. Remote interior angles. Okay? So what's true about it? If you use this as angle 3, angle 1, and angle 2, what little equation can we make out of this? Angle 3 equals angle 1 plus angle 2. Does that have anything to do with 1 plus 2 equals 3, like the numbers? No, it has nothing to do with that. Okay, it has everything to do with the sum of the remote interior angles is equal to the exterior angle. All right, so there's your exterior angle. This angle is equal to this one plus this one. Everybody good? Now, I'll give you some information. I'm not just going to say angle 1, angle 2. I'm going to make some numbers here. All right, so I don't know. Let's give me 2 of these angles. Let's do this. Give me an exterior angle. What's a good 100? Okay. This could not be 70. Why not? It's an obtuse angle, right? So I wouldn't make this 70, all right, because it definitely looks obtuse. I don't know. Give me one of these angles. I don't care. 20? All right, so let's call this 20 degrees. So what do you think I would ask you? Find what? Find angle 1. That's right. Okay, so how would you find angle 1 if I gave you those things? Would you do all that? You could. You could, but I think you could do it a little bit simpler. Just go 100 what? Minus 20. That'd be the easiest way to do it. Okay? Because remember, these add up to be this. Shh. These add up to be this. Okay? And so how do you find what's left over? Just take it away. All right? So take that away from 100, and that would be 80. So this angle right here would be 80 degrees. I could also ask you to find this angle, couldn't I? What would this be? This would also be 80 degrees. Okay? Everybody with me? All right. That's enough of that. I could give you different information, but you should be able to find, right? I might give you like these 2 exterior or these 2 remote interior angles. What if I didn't tell you that this was 100? What if I told you this was 80 and that was 20? You just add them up, right? It's not that hard. Everybody got that? What's that? Okay, go ahead. Which one? This? This? Yeah. This one?
Yeah, would you tell us to find that one?
I might. Yeah. Well, it forms a straight line.
So 180?
So right. So these 2 are also add up to 180, correct? All right. So I would just take 180 away from this, or take this away from 180, and then you got this. Okay? You got to know at least 2 things in here, okay? If you know 2 things, you should be able to find everything else. All right? So that's what we're going to do. 3 and 4 is kind of the same, except I'm not just going to put regular numbers in here. What do you think I'm going to put in there?
Equation.
Okay, well, you're going to make an equation, but I'm going to give you stuff in terms of what? You've heard me say that phrase before, in terms of, haven't I? In terms of x, you're going to have some x's in there, all right? So I know what you were thinking when you said equations, but I'm not going to give you really an equation. You're going to have to come up with the equation. Let's make that look a little more like that. Okay, so this is your other picture. Now, I'm not even going to try to give you what these values are in terms of x, because I'd have to sit there and think about it in order for it to come out nice and even and stuff. All right, but this could be, I'm just making this up. Okay, that could be like x plus 15 degrees. Okay, and then we'll call this x degrees, and we'll call this, I don't know, 3x minus 5 degrees. I don't know if this is going to work out. I have no idea. But what would you do? How would you set it up? Okay, I don't really care about the answer to this particular one, but how would you set it up to find all the missing angles? You needed to find all the missing angles. So what would you do? What do these two do? They add up. Don't just say they equal, because this doesn't equal x and this doesn't equal x, but what do? They add up to equal x. Agreed? So I would, again, I don't know if this comes out real pretty. It might come out ugly, but this is what you would do in a situation like this. So the exterior angle is equal to what? The sum of the remote interior angles. So I would just go x plus 15 plus 3x minus 5. Oops. Minus 5. And then do your stuff, right? Subtract, blah, blah, blah. This comes out to a fraction, so it's not going to be these numbers. I just came up with those off the top of my head. But you do some work, right? That's work, right? Squiggle, squiggle. And then you get x equals a number, okay? Let's say, again, this doesn't come out to this. I'm just making this up. But let's say it came out to like 50, all right? So this x would be what? 50. Everybody see that? Then how do you find this x right here?
50 plus 15.
Yeah, 50 plus 15. That'd be 65. Obviously, that's not a 65-degree angle, but you get the idea, though, right? Okay. Well, you do some algebra.
No, I mean x is 15.
That's what they told you. They told you it's x plus 15. This angle right here is x plus 15. So once I find x, I can plug it in and go 50 plus 15. And then how would I find this one? Well, you could do it a couple different ways, but you could just plug it in too, right? 3 times 50 minus 5, and then whatever you get. Again, this doesn't come out nice and pretty. On the quiz it will, all right, but not here. Yes.
So it's not going to be a fraction on the quiz?
Right, I'm not going to give you fractions. It's all going to come out nice and pretty, just like it does in high school. Does it necessarily do that in real life, though? No, obviously not, okay? But we're just in high school. We're just learning the basics, learning just the idea of this stuff. Everybody good? All right, so that's 1 through 4. 5 through 7. 10, always 10 on a quiz. All right, so numbers 5 through 7, it's kind of going to be like the stuff that we just talked about, but it's not just going to be side, side, side. The homework we just went over was just side, side, side. All right, what are all of the ones, all the congruence statements that we learned? I think it was it side, angle, side was our first one, or angle, side?
Angle side.
Okay, so side, angle, side, then what's the other ones? Angle, side, angle, then we had a couple more though, didn't we? Yeah. Angle, angle, side. You remember that one? Right. It can't be side, side, angle. How do you know without knowing any real math at all? It can't be this. Why not? Because if you spelled it backwards, it would spell something you're not supposed to say. Okay? So, now that's not really the reason why it can't be. All right? But it's just a way to, make your memory like, ooh, wait a minute. I can't write that as one of my answers or congruent statements, okay? And then what else do we have side, side, side? I think that's all we've done so far. Is that correct? Okay. So 5 through 7 is going to be like that. I'm going to give you a couple triangles. I'm going to give you some information. And you have to tell me, are those triangles congruent to each other? And if they are, what's the reason? And what are your choices? Side, angle, 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 side, side. Okay, those are my choices. I am not going to show you those choices, all right? You have to know them, all right? You have to know them, memorize them. Everybody got it? So it's not going to be at the top of the page. Choose from these possibilities. You have to know the possibilities, all right? Let's just do one. Let's grab a triangle. Let's grab this triangle right here. So what if I had this, and what if I had another one? And I don't know, let's just flip it just to make it look a little different, not to make it too easy. All right, everybody see that? Let's make these a little bit bigger. I think I can do this. Yep, look at that. Alrighty. All right, so what if I gave you this, and I called this ABC, and we'll call this DEF. And what if I gave you some information? What if I told you, I don't know, that this and this were equal, that this one and this one were equal, and I told you that this angle was equal to this angle? It doesn't get a whole lot easier than this one right here, okay? But this is the kind of stuff that I would tell you, right? You've been doing this the last few days, haven't you? On your homeworks, all right? Are these triangles congruent to each other? Yeah, give me a reason why. Side, angle, side, that's right. So I would ask you two things, okay? First thing I would ask you is to name the triangles, all right? Name the congruence between the triangles, all right? Or write a congruent statement. So what do you want to call this top one? Now, what do you want to call the triangle? ABC? All right. You could call it anything else with A, B, and C in it, couldn't you? Wouldn't make any difference, all right? But ABC seems reasonable. Now, I have to mark the other one in the correct order, all right? Everybody see that? So if I call this ABC, I have to call this one what? DEF. That's right. DEF. Everybody got that one? Now, how do you know that the A and the D go together? What if I took it and I turned it and I flipped it around some more and I really made it look really weird? Because this one, all I did was just flip it down, right? It's pretty easy to see it, that A and the D would go together. I don't think I showed you this earlier, but watch this. How do I know that the angle A goes with angle D? Well, what you do is you look opposite the angle. What is opposite angle A? No. An angle is not going to be opposite another angle. A side. What side is opposite angle A? BC, which got two tick marks, correct? Everybody see that? So look. And we said that angle D looks like it's this one, right? It goes with this one. But what if you weren't really sure? What if the angles look kind of the same? And you're like, you know what? I don't know if it's this one. Maybe he flipped it. Maybe he flipped it down and he flipped it across, right? And it's really kind of hard to see which one goes with what. All right, the best way to do it is this. This angle A is opposite the two tick marks. What angle over here is opposite the two tick marks? Angle D. Everybody see that? So this is opposite the two tick marks. This one's opposite the two tick marks, so those go together. All right, does that make sense? Look at angle C. What is angle C opposite? The side with one tick mark. Yeah? And then what's opposite the one tick mark over here? Angle F. So that means that what? Angle C must go with or equal angle F. Everybody see that? I'm giving you a huge hint right here, and some of you guys are sleeping and not taking advantage of my hint. All right? All right, enough of that. Maybe I shouldn't have recorded it so that you guys force you to stay awake. All right, so 5, 6, and 7 are kind of like this. Okay, they're all kind of like this. We'll just stop right there with those kind. All right, then I got 8, 9, and 10. And they kind of deal with a picture that we've already seen before, we saw earlier in the quiz. But they're going to ask you a lot more detailed, I guess, questions about it, ask you some more stuff. So let me draw it one more time. And then this is 8, 9, and 10. All right, I'll put that right there. All right, so that's what it looks like. And you know what you really should do? I'm not putting the exact numbers in here, but what you really should do is find these problems. I've drawn them for you. This is exactly what it looks like on 8, 9, and 10. All right? What you need to do is you need to go look at the homework problems where we did this stuff, right? Look at the example. Watch the video on it, okay? Look at the homework problem that you did. If you took your homework and you filed it away somewhere, pull that out, look at it, all right? And that's really going to help you on the quiz. Because am I just making these questions up off the top of my head? No. What am I doing? Or where do I get them from? Get them from the homework, okay? So that's a good place to go to, don't you think? That's my resource. It should be your resource. You should go back to your homework and look at that, okay? I should tell you everything you need to know. Let's just make up some stuff. I believe... Let's make this angle right here. What do you think that is? We already used 100. Let's use something else. It looks a little bigger than 100. 120? Okay, let's use that as 120. And I also tell you that that's perpendicular. And I also tell you that... Okay, that BD bisects this. So I tell you that this is B and this is D. So I also tell you that BD bisects this big angle B up here. Everybody see that? So if it bisects it, what does that mean? It means that this angle is what? Equal to that angle right there. Okay? So I tell you that this is perpendicular. I tell you it bisects this angle up at the top. And that should help finding all the other information. Let's do... Oh, I tell you one more thing. Sorry. I was looking at it. I was like, man, there's one more thing missing. That's what it is. I also tell you that those two sides are equal. Yep, like I told you. It's right from the homework, isn't it? Yeah. So, change the number though right here, right? But everything else is the same. So this is all the stuff I tell you. So let's find as much missing stuff as we can. Let's find all the missing angles. I bet you we can find everything. What would you do first? Start with the 120, right? Well, you know this is a right angle, so that's super easy. Okay, so that's one of the missing angles. So you know that's 90. If this is 120, let's put some letters in here, A and C. Okay. What is this angle right here going to be? How'd you get that? 180 minus 120. Okay, that's the first thing I would do. All right, so that's 60 degrees. Agree with that? So A is 60. Why is A also 60? Because you got two equal sides, right? And the angles opposite the two equal sides have got to be equal as well. So if these two sides are equal, that must mean that this angle is equal to this angle. I'll tell you what, we'll put two arcs. Why did I put two arcs on this and not one? Because up here you already got one, right? So if this is 60, then what's this going to be? That's going to be 60. Good. All right. Now let's find these two little skinny ones up here. What do you think? Yes, you are right. If we want to find each individual one, if I wanted to find that whole big one, watch, this plus this equals what? 120. There's a couple ways you could look at it. But the way we've been doing with the exterior angle, let's look at this. See this big angle right here, the whole angle B, not the little skinny ones, but the whole angle B. This one plus 60 equals what? 120. So what do we do? What's the math? 120 minus 60. So this whole big angle is 60, right? So what's each individual one if they're both the same? They're both 30, right? So I don't know if I could fit them in. I'll put them right here. 30 and then 30. Yes.
Can you also do so since you know angle A and then you know angle B, that's 90. So then
Yep, you can do it that way. There's actually, there's another way too. You're absolutely right. Since this is 90 and this is 60, we could have just looked at that right triangle there. So you could go 90 minus 60. 90 minus 60 is also 30, right? You could have done it that way. Or you could have done it like this. Look at triangle ABC. See that? I got a 60 and a 60. That's 120. How do I find the third angle? Take it away from 180, all right? Does that make sense? Okay. So the problem on the quiz looks just like this, except this is not going to be 120, all right? It's going to be another number. And you can look in the book and see, all right? For the most part, now sometimes I did change the numbers around. I don't know if I did that on this one or not, but a lot of the problems, I use the same exact numbers that are on the quiz that were on the homework, right? So it's to your benefit that you go back and look at your homework. That's why I give homework, right? So that you can learn yourself, and then you got something to study from. We good? Oh, there's one more thing. What if I told you that the length of line segment AC was, I'm just going to make a number up, 20. And then I asked you to find AD. Easy, right? Because what this does, we have, what kind of triangles do I have here and here? I got angle, I got side, I got angle. So what's true about this right triangle and what's true about this right triangle? Angle, side, angle. They're congruent to each other, exactly right. So if I took those and I folded them, everything would match up, wouldn't they? All right, so if I told you that AC, this whole entire thing, was 20, what do I know about AD and CD? They have to be what? They got to be congruent to each other, right? Because they're congruent triangles. Everybody see that? And so why are the two sides equal to each other? Here's something we haven't talked about in a little while, but I made a big deal of it when we first taught it. It's got a bunch of letters. Why does AC and CD equal each other? Because you've got congruent triangles, and that means that the corresponding what? Parts of congruent triangles are congruent. That's right. So if I asked you, I'm not going to on the quiz, but if I asked you, why is AD congruent or equal to CD? You would tell me, because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So if I can show that these two triangles are congruent, and I did, why are those triangles congruent? Angle, side, angle. So the triangles are congruent. That must mean all the stuff that matches up have to be equal to each other as well. Make sense? All right. And then, so of course, that would be 10. If I could write, that would be a 10. And that would also be a 10 right there. All right. You always have to have reasons to back stuff up. Okay, you don't want to just look at it and say, well, it sure looked like they would be equal to each other, so let's just split 10 in half. Right? I mean, you could do that and get the right answer, but it's better to know why you got those answers. Okay? This should be an easy 20 out of 20. Would you agree? It should be. All right, it should be. Now, on these right here, this is actually a two-parter. I forgot to write it in here. We said it, we just didn't write it down. Okay, so these two triangles are congruent, but why were they congruent in the first place? I forget the stuff that I gave you. I think I gave you a side and angle and side, right? Because I didn't give you those, and I didn't give you those. All right, there's the information I gave you. So there's the triangles. There's the congruent statement for the triangles. Why are they congruent? What's my reason? Side, angle, side. So you have to get them both. You got to get them both to get that one problem correct. So this would be like number 5, okay? So I'm asking two things, the congruent statement and the reason why. And if you get either one of those wrong, the whole problem's wrong. You got to get them both right. Everybody got it? Okay. Make sure on this congruent statement, if you wrote this, watch, if you wrote triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, I don't know, FED. Am I going to give you that? A, B, C. Does the A and the F match up? No, they don't. So even though triangle FED is that triangle, am I going to give you this as correct? No, because it's got to be in the correct order. Okay, we've said that from the very beginning. All right, if I call this triangle ABC, I have to call this triangle DEF. Yes. If it's regular, equilateral, and equiangular. Yeah, if it's equiangular, I don't know what you really mean, but I mean they're congruent to each other because of side, side, side if they're equilateral, right? And if they're equiangular, it's the same thing, right? Because if it's equiangular, then it's also equilateral. Yeah, I don't put that on here anyway, but all right, everybody got that? There's a couple of them. You know the triangles that share a side? Remember that? You're going to have to make sure you look at those, know what I'm talking about. So watch this. Oops. Let me just do this. I'll include those red things. So watch. What if you had this? And what if I didn't tell you that this and this were equal? Are those triangles congruent to each other with the information that I gave you right there? Yeah. I got a side. Where's my third side, though? AC. All right, so I'll put a 3 right there. So now, why are these triangles congruent? Side, side, side. Okay, so make sure you understand that. Okay, they're not always going to be as easy as what it was earlier. All right, so that's it. All right, my goodness, I'm like serving it up on a silver platter. You ever hear that expression? All right, you never heard that expression? Well, my goodness. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm practically giving this to you. I have my doubts on how much I'm spoon feeding you guys, and I think I'm doing it a little too much. I think there needs to be a time where we just cut the cord. I'm giving a lot of expressions today, aren't I? Okay, when I just cut the cord, you know what that comes from, right? A baby, you cut their umbilical cord, right? So I cut the cord, separate you, right? Make you be able to study some things on your own instead of me just giving every little thing to you. Yeah, there's going to come a point where I'm going to stop doing this, especially since you're in honors class. All right? So enjoy it now while it lasts, okay? All right, be ready for the quiz tomorrow, please.